please, we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting of the Harsens Island Transportation Authority on December 16, 2023 to order. All rise, please, for the national anthem.
Pledge of allegiance.
Sorry.
Flag is in the back right corner there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, roll call. Polak, absent excused. Bain, absent excused. Szymanski?
Here.
Cassidy?
Here.
And Torno here. Entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the December 1st meeting.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. That'll turn the mic over to Dennis.
I just have a thing here. I'm going to stand up here and prepare a presentation, I guess you want to call it. So give me a minute here.
One other thing too, if you have cell phones, please turn them to silent or off.
Let's hope this works about interference. Well, good morning, everybody. We got a big crowd here today. Again, this was prepared for us, or for me to read, and due to sickness and other one out of state or country, I get tasked with this. My name is Dennis Szymanski. I'm one of the 5 members of HITA. I've been on this board for a little over 4 years. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone here today. On behalf of the board and myself, I intend to read a statement to the record, which is being videotaped in front of us here. I only deviate from the one highlighted documents. After today's meeting, it will be posted on our website for everything that we're referring to or drawing or stating will be on our website, and or the new group page will be, that information will be out there ASAP.
Is that on Facebook?
Yes.
Facebook.
There have been a lot of misinformation spreading through our community. I intend to address all of it. So if you would sit back, relax, make yourself as comfortable as you can. I did turn the heat down just to take a little warm here. What I tell you will be supported by many documents. It is a complete history of the ferry transportation to and from Harsens Island. I can tell you all this. I can't tell you all this in about 5 minutes. It's going to take a little bit, so plan to listen to me for a bit. I want everyone to pay attention to my next couple of questions. Look about you. By the show of hands, who here is a full-time resident? Who here is a part-time resident? Or who just here lives out in one of the flats?
Full-time.
So full-time residents, there's quite a few, thank you. Part-time residents? All right, you make sure they get their hands up there. And then all the people that live out of the outer islands. Appreciate everybody for showing up here today. Yeah, we're just here to give the information, facts, and nothing but the facts. I intend to speak here today. Hopefully when I'm done, there won't be any questions by anyone. I doubt that, but shoot, but many years ago, there was 3 ferries that carried travelers to Harsens Island. 2 of them went out of business for whatever reason.
You have to put your phone on airplane mode. Turn that one off.
This one's off.
Yeah. Sorry about that. This is the first time we're using this technology here. 2 of them went out of business for whatever reason, and only.
Try putting your phone on airplane mode. That worked. I don't know.
HITA was incorporated in 1997. Doesn't matter.
Take your shirt off.
One leg.
Turn it off.
Just use the mic.
Yeah, you want
Here,
this mic?
I'll just take the Samson
Just use
You
the
want to use
mic.
the mic?
Can everybody hear me, or should I use the mic?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, all right, well, I got a big mouth, so we'll go with that. All right, so HITA was incorporated in 1997. It was created by the Clay Township Board of Trustees back when John Manos was the supervisor. Each member of this board has to be approved to be on HITA by the Clay Township Board. Thank you for HITA, or Artie, for letting me be on the board. Public Act 196 of 1986 vests certain powers to HITA. HITA can only be dissolved by a vote of the legislature. These are tough words here, guys. Our township supervisor knows this, and I will explain that later. The powers of HITA are limited to the geographical boundary of voting precinct 4 of Clay Township. The HITA board has no power to set that geographical boundaries of precinct 4. Precinct 4 boundary was drawn by the Township Election Commission and approved by the Township Board long before most of us were probably even alive. If you own property in Precinct 4, HITA did not put you there, the Township did. Prior to 2017, the Bryson family wanted to increase the ferry rates to go to the Michigan Public Service Commission, just like DTE and SEMCO have to make a request. The Michigan Public Service Commission, MPSC, will be referred to. Then we'll decide if it should be grant or rate increase or not. Again, I am just the reader of this, okay? Bryson family ferry history. Dave Bryson, Bob Bryson, Artie Bryson, grandfather started up Champion Auto Ferry in 1937. Again, at one point there were 3 different competing ferries to the island. Today, Champion only is the one that exists. In 1992, Dave Bryson purchased the ferry from his grandfather without using any of his own money. He immediately went to the Michigan Public Service Commission and asked for a rate increase and asked the Michigan Public Service Commission to recognize his purchase as a debt and also give him a 24% salary increase. Side note, I'm going to get to different, they call it exhibits that show this letters and whatnot. The MPSC declined. The Bryson family, Dave Bryson, then told MPSC that it planned to suspend operations in stages. This included reducing ferry crossings, eliminating $20 ticket books, and limiting the number of crossings. MPSC said the Bryson family could not do that. Interstate Commerce Commission, which is going to be referred to as ICC. In 1995, the Bryson family went to the Interstate Commerce Commission, ICC, a branch of the federal government, claiming they were not subject to the MPSC because they were governed by the Interstate Commerce Clause of the United States Constitution. The Bryson family told that the ICC they were an interstate water carrier. The Bryson family got a federal license to operate and immediately raised the rates. But ICC regulates interstate commerce, not intrastate. Means like they're not driving from here to Ohio. They're driving from Elginak to Harsens Island, which is the state of Michigan, and that is what is called intrastate. Intrastate is a commerce between 2 states, and intrastate is just common commerce in 1 state. When the feds found out what the Bryson family did, they told them they could not do that and revoked their license. Later, the MPC told the Bryson family they would have to return the money that illegally received while claiming that they were a water carrier during interstate commerce. MPSC said they would not prosecute the Bryson family for illegally charging people if they returned the money. Some people here do remember that date when that happened. Finally, the Bryson family sued the MPSC. We are publishing the first 3 pages of the Michigan Appeals Court decision, but not just look at the 1 page. The Bryson family actually argued that they are not a ferry. Apparently, prior to this lawsuit, which was decided in the Michigan Court of Appeals, the Bryson family did not know they were operating a ferry service. The Court of Appeals told the Brysons that the ferry is a ferry, and everything I have told you so far is all contained in the 3 pages, which I'm going to go into Exhibit 1. Some people said I should have a bullet on my chest here, but we'll leave it at that. So this is decided October 2nd of 1998, Champion Auto Ferry Inc. versus Public Service Commission. It's published Michigan Court of Appeals opinion. At the outset, now this is all going to be on the webpage, all of the information, I'm just reading a couple highlighted areas. At the outset, it should be noted that CAFF, which is Champion Auto Ferry, contends notwithstanding its voluntary adoption of nomenclature suggesting that it is a ferry service that is a water carrier service, and that it does not operate a ferry service. The map reflects that CAF's dock in Algonac abuts State Highway M29. Its Harsens Island dock abuts State Highway 154. Again, we're not going to go into all of this. You all can read this on your own. It's going to be on the web pages. A remainder of this option will refer to the service operated by CAF as a ferry. CAF has operated this ferry service since 1937. There are no bridges or competing commercial ferries. The court recited in December of 1996, and this is in parentheses, in 1992, however, after David C. Bryson, whose grandfather founded CAF, acquired sole ownership of the stock of the company, creating debt on the books of the company by the way of payment for interest purchase, and without expanding his own funds, immediately began a campaign to raise rates for the service provided. Several rates increases were allowed by the PSC, but others were rejected. When CAF appealed the PCS's rejection of the rate increase request in the prior appeal, this court affirmed, finding that the rates established were reasonable and rather than confiscatory. They weren't, they did it legally, legitimately. It was further held that the PSC had not improperly interfered with management decisions in refusing to recognize the acquisition debt that Bryson had endeavored, or a $24,000 or 24% salary increase Bryson gave himself in setting the rates and charges. Obviously, there's just a lot of stuff on here that, again, this should be read the whole thing, but we'd be here for hours. So, shortly after that decision, on January 6, 1997, CAF announced that to a letter to the PCS, Director of Motor Carrier Regulation, that because of its inability to obtain what it deemed reasonable rate relief, it planned to suspend operations in stages. CAF announced in its intent beginning January 15, 1997 at 6 a.m. to discontinue the sale of 20-trip commuter discount book tickets. It proposed to suspend commencing February 3, 1997, night ferry service between 10 and 6 a.m. Then after ferry services started February 10th, there'd be one afternoon trip to provide service on for the school bus, and then on February 16, 1997 at 2 p.m. to terminate all ferry services between Algonac and Harsens Island. This announcement, however, was rendered negatory by the PCS decision on its present case T-1289, because by the decision the CAF is required to give 12 months notice of its intent to discontinue all or part of its operations. And if you remember that what happened back in there for that short day. Blue Water. So in 1999, Blue Water Transit Commission, Blue Water, attempted to help out the citizens of Harsens Island. Blue Water attempted to negotiate an agreement with the Bryson family to provide the Bryson family public funding called Act 51 money to help offset transportation infrastructure costs. That way they could hold down the rates. This was before Artie was the supervisor. Immediately upon signing this agreement, the Bryson family increased the ferry rate. The Bryson family took the position that since Blue Water was now involved, the Bryson family did not have to go to the Public Service Commission for approval of rate increases. This ended in a disaster, and Blue Water withdrew from the agreement, and the Bryson family did not get the public funding. There was a report, MDOT report, that was just came out December 1st. That was in
June of 23.
Well, it was finished in June 23. It was published in December 1st of this year. But in there, it had some details that we brought up last meeting about Act 51 monies and who can get Act 51 monies and who can't get Act 51 monies. There's some emails that were from the old HITA board chair and other committee members. We're going to be Exhibit 2, which I'm just going to just touch base lightly on them. There's just a few of them on here. Again, they're all going to be on the web page tonight, or the web page by this weekend or end of the weekend, but on the Facebook one will be on here tonight. There was when that contract, and when I said that when that contract in 1999 came about, you know what, I'm just going to stick to this because I'm going to get lost here, sorry. In 2012, Artie was elected Township Supervisor. You would have been dead not to know this because he is Dave Bryce's brother. He has been our supervisor for the past 11 years. Thank you, sir. After being elected, bless you, after being elected in 2012, Supervisor Bryson requested that the attorney, John McAmee, provide him with his opinion on whether he could dissolve HITA and among other questions. Now again, this is right after he got elected. Mr. McAmee informed Supervisor Bryson that as supervisor he could not dissolve HITA. Apparently HITA was an issue for Supervisor Bryson since the start of his term in office. Going back to 2000 or Blue Water again. Blue Water now in 2013 attempted to help out the citizens again, Harsens Island, by agreeing to give the Brysons $1.6 million from the state to hold down the rates, Act 51 money. In return, Blue Water wanted rate control of the ferry. Mr. Bryson only wanted the money and would yield no control over rates. That $1.6 million was to be a yearly payment, not just a single payment. Since 2013, you figure the math, the Bryce fans would have received $16 million over the past 10 years that he didn't want any oversight from the government. Now comes the bridge. It's kind of how the whole HITA thing even started, right? So during the past several years, the Detroit International Bridge Company, we're going to go back to as DIBC, proposed a bridge partnership with HITA to help finance an $80 million bridge where HITA would get $40 million from the state and give it to DIBC to build a bridge. After many meetings, it became clear that DIBC, just like the Bryson family, wanted public money on a handshake with HITA and would not commit itself to setting a reasonable rate. There is a better chance for HITA to build a bridge to the moon than to build a bridge with the DIBC over the North Channel. Anyone here that wants to build a bridge, by all means, you have our permission. The bridge is history and caused an unneeded focus away from what HITA should have been doing from day one, and that was to create its own alternate transportation service. One thing to keep in mind, the Bryson family and the DIBC have interests that are opposite of HITA. The family and DIBC want to make as much money as they can and are naturally interested in high rates. HITA wants the lowest rates possible. It's tough to form a partnership when the partnerships disagree from the start and what the goal should be. HITA. For the last 18 months, HITA has tried to get state and federal funding via grants to launch a ferry service. At the same time, HITA has been engaging in talks with a private company that builds roads and infrastructure throughout the state. They actually were here last year and gave a presentation, if anybody remembers. This is a major infrastructure builder, well capable of building docks and has lenders that will assist in the financing of any project. To date, HITA has not received assistance from the Township Board to help secure any funding for the ferry service. Blue Water, on the other hand, has informed HITA that it can provide HITA substantial funding, perhaps as much as $2 million a year for operating costs. Other than that, HITA is on its own to launch a ferry service. I want to report that HITA has been quietly lobbying people in the governor's office for assistance in making headway. HITA is optimistic that this lobbying will bear fruit. I'm not at liberty to divulge the specifics on these lobbying efforts. I can tell you, however, the governor's office recently secured a federal grant of $10 million to be spent on the Beaver Island Ferry. You guys are familiar with that. HITA is trying to get in line for this kind of funding, but HITA needs to continue taking steps to launch its own service. The Eastern Upper, we call HITA, has received a free $5 million icebreaker ferry from the federal government. All of this available to HITA once we start service. It is not available to private business owners. Keep this in mind. HITA has the ability to obtain millions in public funding from the state and local government besides Act 51 money if it starts its own service. Up until 2017, the Bryson family had to go to the Public Service Commission to request a rate increase. That ended in 2017. Well, how did that end? State Representative, now State Senator Dan Lowers, changed that law in August of 2014. Changed that in August of 2014.
No.
The Bryson family held a political fundraiser for Lowers, who then a state representative at Artie's house. We have a flyer right here. It'll be on the webpage as well. It was a $200 per host couple to attend and a $75 per person. Again, it'll be on the webpage of all the sponsors that were there. And it's just a normal political thing. It's not a big deal, but you can go check out on Dan Lauer's fundraising events back in 2014 and how much they actually raised. In 2017, Lowers introduced a bill to the state legislature that benefited just the Bryson family. One company in the entire state. One family in the entire state. It removed the Bryson family from having to go to the Michigan Public Service Commission for a rate increase. Let me read just parts of this analysis in House Bill. So everybody's kind of familiar with the House Bill 4807. That was back in 2017. Dan Lowers was the sponsor of that bill. It basically took away from the Michigan State Police, or the authority. I mean, I just read it. I'm not good with all these words. House Bill 4807 would amend the Carriers Water Act by codifying existing oversight by the Michigan Public State Police and describe the process where the MPS or the MSFP would approve or reject rates. Charges or tariffs for carriers by water who primarily transport vehicles between two state highways. This bill would have an indeterminate but yet likely minor fiscal impact on the MSSP. The bill could create minor administrative costs for the regulatory and credentialing section within the Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division. Basically, they were saying is they thought that having this bill on that the Michigan State Police would be overwhelmed with options from Harsens Island. Well, that wasn't the case. The apparent problem. This is a legislative analysis, that turned the bill is understood to impact only Champions Auto Ferry, which runs between Algonac and Harsens Island. This proposed provision regarding rate approval would only apply to carriers that primarily transport vehicles directly between two state highways. According to the committee testimony, the two Michigan ferries service that fall under this description are Champion Auto Ferry and the ferry company serving Mackinac Island. The Act currently states that the pricing oversight by the MSP does not apply when a ferry company is operating within a municipality under an agreement with that municipality. That Mackinac Island ferries will fall under that provision. According to the committee testimony, the proposed legislation would replace with existing metric for assessing rate increases, which applies to the utilities with a reasonable standard that would more accurately reflect the function of the ferry service. And then basically the rules of the bill is that it just states the Department of of State Police may examine and audit in all books, accounts, records, and papers of a carrier by water. A carrier by water shall furnish to the Department of State Police its proper officers and employees and all data in relation to the investment, income, operating expenses, and other statistical data as the department may require. Basically, they can be audited at any given point, which is one of the rules of that. As you can tell, Lowers here sold out the citizens in Harsens Island for the new shillings of Bryson silver. Again, I'm just reading this, I didn't write this. Or should I say, Dan Lowers, that immediately upon the law passed, the Bryson raised the ferry rates $2 for cash and $1 for book tickets. Now the Bryson family has a monopoly in the protection of our township supervisor. We don't have many options. A last option is a proposed millage to raise valuable funds to get a ferry up and running. We have not been flying blind. We know the general price of docks, ferries. We know the road count. We have the locations to build the docks. We need to get the grant funding. We need to get into the grant funding game. We need to exist. So let's address this millage. It will be placed on the ballot for voter approval, not HITA approval. It'll be on the February 27th. It provides for a levy up to 4.5 mils on property in Precinct 4. Again, HITA did not set the precinct boundaries. If it passes, some people in Precinct 4 will pay tax and never receive benefit. People who own substantial properties will pay more in real dollars than people that don't have expensive property. Again, a person that has a $1 million taxable value will pay 10 times like the rest of us. If you have a $10,000 or $100,000 property, you're basically paying about $450 per year. We don't make the law. The politicians did all that. What about the people that don't vote in Precinct 4?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but could you repeat that again? So you're saying that $450 a year to somebody that has an assessed value of $100,000?
That is correct.
So somebody has an assessed value of $1 million, he's going to pay
10 times the amount, yep. That was the point, yep.
10 times.
Let me read it again for you. People who own substantial...
SCB.
Taxable, yeah, that's the key word. I don't know if I must not have said that, but I'll re-say that. People who own substantial properties will pay more in real dollars than those people who don't own expensive property. A person who has a $1 million taxable value will pay 10 times what a person who owns property with a taxable value of $100,000. Given the math, 4.5 mils on 100,000 taxable is $450 times 10. What about people who don't want? That's just to the gentlemen and the other folks that are on the out islands. What about people who don't vote in Precinct 4 but own property there, like the people in the flats or the outer islands? Is it unfair for them to pay for a tax increase for a ferry they will never use? Let's talk about the people in the flats. Supervisor Bryson has informed HITA that he has 30-plus emails from people that live in the flats or outer islands that oppose the millage. It is unfair that they should be taxed to support a ferry service when they will never benefit. Look at your tax bill. 50% of your tax bill pays for a police millage and fire millage. The St. Clair County Sheriff's Department polices the lake. Polices the lake, and they have authority to police what happens on those outer islands. The resident of Clay Township passed a 10 mil increase for the police alone. The township currently is only charging 4.85 mils right now. The township can change and add another 5.15 just on the police millage alone. Did you guys get a vote on that? No. But Supervisor Bryson wants to protect the family ferry business, so he's making a point showing the negative. The township didn't even man the fire department on the island until this past year. Has there been a fire in the past 10 years where whatever was caught on fire got burnt down to the ground? It's not the fault of the fire department. It's a very difficult time to respond to a fire on an out island, but these are taxes that you pay for and you never got a chance to vote on. Coming up onto this, this Monday coming up, Monday's Township Board meeting, Supervisor Bryson intends to pass a township resolution at the Township Board meeting exempting people in the flats from paying a millage that we are putting on the ballot. He is only thinking of them in fairness. Probably invited many of you here today, which we showed, because asking you to raise your all's hands. I'm sure it has not occurred to Supervisor Bryson that if he does that, it will lower revenue available to HITA to compete against his family business. I'm sure he's only worried about fairness.
Excuse me.
I love it how you said about what, you know what I think, Dennis.
I didn't hear that.
We have a full year for the open discussion.
We'll be having questions at the end. Please hold your comments and let Dennis speak.
Yeah, this isn't the township. Let's talk about the people on the island. The Browson family owns this island. They decide when you come over, when you leave, and what it costs you. We say HITA can set rates at $5 round trip with a new government-owned ferry service. You can argue all day long whether I am right or wrong, but ask yourself, how much will the Bryson family be charging 5 or 10 years from now? They have twice passed up opportunities for government funding. That alone makes the ferry cost more for every islander every day. This millage is your future. Vote against it, and you vote for uncontrolled rates by the Bryson family. Vote for it to own your own government-owned ferry, funded ferry, a ferry which you each will own, a ferry where you'll get to say and have a say in how much is charged. Keep in mind the 4.5 mils has to be levied. The vote is for 5 years, but it can be stopped and not assessed every year. It doesn't have to go the 5 years. You don't get to buy a ferry like Dave Bryson did, where you pay nothing. You need to decide whether you are willing to put down a down payment with this millage and therefore own your own ferry. Again, I am just a reader here. Please no personal feelings here. Freedom of Information Act. So we were just FOIA abbreviated. We have received a FOIA request from an attorney named Megan Cassidy. She wants all substantial records of HITA, including information that we have paid thousands of dollars to acquire. She has sued us for the information. This information is, however, protected her from her FOIA request because it was complied with confidential non-disclosure agreements being signed by HITA and the providing party. She wants every document that HITA has. We will not provide confidential information. I suspect someone in this room has retained her services to have her requested to the party wanting it to remain anonymous. That's okay with the board, but we can't help but question who hired an attorney with the last name Cassidy, as such as Paul Cassidy's attorney on this board. He happens to have a sister named Megan, but she's not an attorney. There must be 5,000 attorneys but here in West Bloomfield that you could have hired that could do a FOIA request. We can't help but think it's suspicious that you picked this attorney based on her name. Please tell your attorney we will not provide confidential information that she has requested. Tell her HITA is well aware of that. We will require her to divulge her client in discovery. Website, please tell everyone you know to visit our website. There will be people who are angry about what I have said here today. I'm getting that sense already. Then they will tell you lies, or worse yet, say that I'm lying. We will post many documents on the website that what I have said here is true. HITA did not call this meeting today to listen to arguments for or against the millage. You can speak your mind, but each person gets to weigh their choice when they vote. Kind of in a little recap here. Keep in mind, again, the Bryson family sued the Public Service Commission back in 1997. In that case, titled Champion Auto Ferry versus Michigan Public Service Commission, the Bryson family claimed Champions was not a ferry service, but a water carrier, and therefore should not go to the Public Service Commission to increase rates. Go to the internet, read it. Do you really think that the Bryson family would deal fairly with HITA in collaborative agreement? The Bryson family just wants public money. and stated in 1999, Blue Water reached an agreement with the Bryson family to funnel Act 51 to the Bryson family to help out the citizens of Harsens Island and maintain reasonable rates. After signing the agreement, the Bryson family immediately raised the rates. Clay Township, our Clay Township, threatened a lawsuit over what they felt was fraudulent negotiations by the Bryson family. After that, the deal was off. In 2013 was another bad deal. The Blue Water was going to get the Bryson family $1.6 million, but wanted oversight on rate increases. That $1.6 was for every year. Again, in the past 10 years, that had been $16 million. The Bryson family would not agree to it because Blue Water wanted oversight. Now, if someone disputes what I have told you, tell them to show their proof and support of what they are saying. So if you're going to talk the talk, prove it. The island has always been a hotbed of rumors, and some people distort the truth. Some people just don't like their facts, have their facts right, and speak out of emotional necessity. Don't trust anyone. HITA and the Bryson family. HITA sent a letter to the Brysons back in August of 2022, which again, it's been on our webpage. Well, we presented it in meetings in the past, but dear Mr. Bryson, this is again.
No, HITA offered to buy the ferry. You want to say that about the letter? Previous page.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's some emails going back and forth between the attorney and Jake Bryson and Harold in the Harsens Island of the HITA. Which one is first here? I have emailed you a letter containing Champion Auto Ferry's response to your letter dated April 28th, in which HITA offers to purchase the ferry. In addition, as several items in our letter are time sensitive, I provided an electronic copy as well. Look forward to your response. Jake Bryson. And then this is from the Lord to Jake. We never received a response in this manner. Can you please resend it? Here, generally, I don't understand that whole thing, But,
Hey Dennis, who wrote what you read?
I'm not sure.
Good question.
Well, I mean, it was members of the HITA board, I should say that. It was consulted by the.
By saying you didn't read it, or you didn't.
I brief read it, but again, getting up here, I don't know if you're a good Republican, but you can come on up here, you can read it for you if you're better with it than me.
Who's the author? Who's
But,
the no, we're reading
Who wrote
someone's
it?
words.
We have questions and answers.
Obviously, somebody on the board wrote it,
Well, why
right?
can't we actually ask questions about it?
You're going to be able to ask questions at the end. Just please follow the agenda and show a little respect for the speakers.
Point of order.
It's been on since I became a board member, so I don't know. Again, I apologize. This was a letter that we had wrote to Champion Auto Ferry again in April of 2022 asking for to purchase the ferry. We received a letter May 16th, 2022 from Champion Auto's Ferry. This response to your letter dated April 28th, 22, which the Harsens Island Transport Authority has requested to purchase Champion Auto Ferry. At this time, it's our opinion that no one either on the HITA board or currently employed by HITA has necessary skill set, qualifications, or experience to successfully operate this ferry to Harsens Island. As such, we cannot in good conscience sell the business to HITA as we place the safety of our passengers' reliability to the service of our customers and our reputation ahead of our own financial gain. I am reminded of what recently happened to the Arnold Ferry Line in Mackinac. However, I would like to provide you with a counter proposal. This letter will be on the, again, on the webpage. We don't really get into the things here, but just, again, you know, the egg sling and whatever you want to call it is in that letter. You can read that. We would partner with, as that letter that was written, we said that we would partner with Dave Bryson as a partner, or Champion Auto Ferry, I should say. We know the finances of the company. He was invited to meet us with an open meeting to discuss it. No back deal rooms with us. We represent you. He never responded. The Hertel letter. After this attempt to collaborate with the Bryson family, we were contacted in March of 23 by a representative in State Senator Kevin Hertel's office. We responded a letter to the Senator Hertel dated April 2nd, 2023. On behalf of, dear Senator Hertel, on behalf of the Harsens Island Transport Authority, HITA, would like to thank you for your interest and support in establishing a safe, reliable, and affordable transportation to and from Harsens Island and mainland. Recently, Paul McAdams from your office called and informed me, again, this is from the Herald that wrote this, that Clay Township Supervisor Artie Bryson, brother of David Bryson, contacted your office to inquire whether you could arrange a meeting between Blue Water Transportation Committee, which is called BWATC, and HITA, and Mr. Bryson. I'm not sure from his request what the purpose or topic of this meeting could be. Please allow me to detail past interaction between Blue Water, HITA, and Mr. Bryson from a historical perspective. In 1997, Blue Water negotiated an operational contract with Champion Auto Ferry that would allow Blue Water to funnel funding to CAF, Champion Auto Ferry, and hopefully lower or maintain affordable rates for passengers. Immediately after signing the agreement, Champion Auto Ferry raised the rates, claiming it has no longer required to seek approval from the MPSC. After a lawsuit threatened by the supervisor of Clay Township, Blue Water evidently withdrew from this agreement, believing CAF, Champion Auto Ferry, did not negotiate the agreement in good faith, but rather Champion Auto Ferry was only motivated by desire to avoid future MPSC rate oversight and approval, which there's supporting documentation with this letter. This is a letter of April 2nd of 2023. Okay. Yeah, let them know I wrote this. Thank you. Where was they at here? After a lawsuit was threatened by the supervisor of Clay Township, that would have been John Manos, not Artie. Eventually withdraw from the agreement, believing Champion Auto Ferry did not negotiate. Champion Auto Ferry did not negotiate the agreement in good faith, but rather that Champion Auto Ferry was only motivated by desire to avoid future MPSC rate oversight and approval. This matter remained dormant until 2013 when Blue Water attempted to negotiate an agreement that would have provided Mr. Bryson $1.6 million in state and federal funds every year to operate Champion Auto Ferry. It would also given Blue Water authority to set ferry rates. While Blue Water signed the negotiated agreement, Mr. Bryson declined to sign it. Because this agreement was never materialized, HITA has approached Mr. Bryson in April of 22 regarding the possibility of purchasing Champion Auto Ferry. Mr. Bryson responded with a letter in May of 22, which I had just read a little bit ago, stating that HITA lacked the ability and experience to operate a ferry. Rather, he requested that HITA provide Champion Auto Ferry with a substantial public funds to help him financially run his business without any consideration by him for what HITA could expect in return for payment of these funds. HITA later responded with a letter in August of 22 inviting Mr. Bryson to partner with HITA and then run and operate Champion Auto Fair by way of public-private partnership. HITA invited Mr. Bryson to attend its next public meeting to discuss this idea. Mr. Bryson did not accept this invitation and never attended. A copy of the correspondence's emails went back and forth. You should also be aware that for the past 10 years, the Detroit International Bridge Company, again DIBC, proposed to partner with HITA to build a bridge from the mainland to the island. In the past year, it has become apparent to HITA that an agreement with the DIBC has been difficult to negotiate. HITA has since abandoned this venture and will only consider such a partnership if DIBC is willing to be more open and allow HITA to share in control of setting rates, structure, and operations. At this point, HITA has moved forward with its own plan to solve the ferry problem. To steal a quote from the front of Champion Auto Ferry ticket written in Pig Latin, "Hey day, ferry fay, as way or fay on away," anyway, translated, the ferry waits for no man, and no longer will HITA. Our board has now figuratively left the dock and sails forward with plans to launch its own public ferry service. In furtherance of its goals, HITA has expanded substantial funds to acquire necessary information to obtain government funding. HITA has also extended funds to acquire its property on both sides of the North Channel and from which it established operation. HITA believes it will eventually reduce ferry rates fees from the present to $5 a round trip. No HITA board member is compensated for its service on this board. Members have at their own expense traveled to Upper Peninsula to study and consult with the HITA Transportation Authority on setting up ferry line and acquiring efficient knowledge to obtain funding, learn operation procedures. HITA has been very supportive and information given. One member of our board has traveled to Wisconsin to meet with a ferry building contractor and has acquired enough information for HITA to contract for new ferry boat construction. HITA has also sought a private partner to build docks and infrastructure necessary to begin operations. Further members have met with and are securing funding for the ferry through MDOT, SIMCOG, and numerous state and federal agencies. Again, all this done has been without compensation to any member. We are mindful that Mr. Bryson has attempted to get MDOT funding and has avoided discussing any funding issue with our board. We would certainly discuss with Mr. Bryson anything that he believes would assist us in providing transportation to and from the island. Our situation has changed, however, since we made our proposal to partner with him in August of 22. We have crossed the river at that issue. We now intend to own and operate our own ferry service. We would welcome and appreciate any assistance Mr. Bryson could give us in accomplish our goal. As chairman of HITA, I do not have plenipotentiary powers to negotiate any agreement. You have to be in front of the board to do that. Our full board must vote upon any contract binding HITA. For that reason, if Mr. Bryson desires to be meeting with HITA, he can contact our secretary to add him on the agenda for our next meeting. This way, each board member will be fully informed of the issue, decide for himself and what he's doing at this point. Sincerely yours, Harold Bain, Chairman. So again, these things are all are going to be on the webpage. Now, after we propose a millage, since we put out that we were going to do a millage, we announced that the only option right now for us. Now that we have proposed a millage, the Bryson family has sent another letter to HITA, and I'm going to read that. You guys wanted answers. We're here to give you the answers, the truth. And this is just we appreciate all your information. You'll have an opportunity to say your questions after. We have public comments.
If you put them on there like you said you did already, all this information that you wasted.
Bring up water, bring it up later.
All right. Let Dennis finish. We'll have questions and answers.
Point of order.
is the letter.
I went on your website earlier, and I didn't see answers to questions. I watched the video.
Well, I mean, what time
from the
does
last
open
meeting. You know what
conversation
came out of it?
It's
The last-
11:20.
we put the-
Hold your questions till we ask you to have them.
Very simple question. What time does open
Point of order.
conversation?
It's gonna start when Dennis is done.
When is he done?
It's on the
When he's done,
All he's done is
let him talk.
You're not answering our question.
It's not open
Not
discussion yet.
question time yet.
I have FAQs. They will be passed out. He's got about 10 minutes.
5
Please.
10 minutes.
Questions?
Okay, thank you very much. 10 minutes.
That's
So
it.
at about
This
11:35.
ends at 11:30.
Thank you.
This ends at 11:30. So we have no time to-
Order.
It's going to be 12, if you want to keep talking.
Well,
Dennis, read.
No, let him continue. He's got till 11:35 and then it's open conversation. It's not interrupting.
you know, I didn't ask for this position. I never, ever once asked for this position. I was nominated. So back off. You guys want to say something to me personally? We'll take it somewhere else. I'm tired. I'm just reading this stuff here because no one else was going to read it.
Just go to the website.
It is going to be, but we had to have this public information. I just got this morning, or last night. I'm sorry.
Please proceed.
Jesus Christ. Okay, this is from Champion Auto Ferry to Harsens Island Transit Authority. Sirs, in an effort to stabilize ferry rates by continuing to seek state funding, again, I'm going to just emphasize that first, listen to the first paragraph of this. In an effort to stabilize ferry rates by continuing to seek state funding, such as the Act 51 subsidy, Champions Auto Ferry would like to pursue the process of negotiating an operating agreement with the Blue Water Area Transportation Authority, who is the only public body authorized to receive these funds, should Champions' efforts be successful in obtaining satisfactory operating agreements with Blue Water. It would eliminate the need for future ferry rates and increases. Again, the MDOT report that was done by the state of Michigan and Michigan Department of Transportation, they gave the whole summary. Those are the things that you should be looking at and reading, where it just they say it's 100%. Champion Auto Ferry has no public assets, therefore does not qualify for federal or FBP capital and operational funding. This is from MDOT. Neither private operators are interested in receiving state federal funding assistance, as they would like to retain operational control and financial flexibility without the need to adhere to public funding recipient bureaucracies. These conditions might lead to a natural local monopoly that hurts public welfare, where there is a lack of accountability to serve with a satisfactory level of service. It seems there is a need for state authorities to step in and improve the service quality and affordability, as local township authorities have little influence on their operations according to the provided feedback by some residents. This is this is MDOT's word, not mine. Harsens Island and Bois Blanc Islands, both ferry operators are not interested, they recite it again. Both ferry operators are not interested in receiving state and federal funding assistance, as they would like to remain independent for profit operators and non-attached to any state federal bureaucracies. We know that See, you know, I don't, you know what, I don't even really want to read all this stuff, but, where's the contract thing?
Hey, can I ask a simple question real quick? How much does David charge for foot traffic? Foot traffic is free. You know how much it costs?
Where's the,
$37.
That's all that it is foot traffic.
Foot traffic.
That's all that it is foot
Not
traffic.
vehicles,
oh,
foot traffic.
It's just foot traffic.
We did it for free here.
It's just a foot traffic to Mackinac. It's not the same thing. If they gave it for free, they wouldn't charge anything.
You could get a take a bike on the ferry or walk on the ferry. It doesn't cost
is this
you
number
that
8,
much.
is what you're saying?
No, it's not number 8. This is 8 from there.
All right, now after we propose a millage, the Bryce family has sent another letter to HITA, which, again, I read the beginning of it. If I would recommend that you read the rest of it. Let's assume that the Bryson family is financially breaking even on a ferry today. There are no loss, no profits. Is HITA going to give him $1.6 million a year to hold down the ferry rates? Let's say we give $1.6 million a year and agrees to a $200,000 a year income. That means we use the balance of the 1.6 to reduce the ferry rate. Let's say there are 330,000 cars that ride the ferry every year. That means we would reduce the ferry rate by $4.25. 1.6 million minus 200,000 is 1.4 million. Divided by 330,000 cars equals $4.25. $10 at 425 equals 575. Now our ferry crossing is 575 a round trip. Who wants rates of 575 trip and no millage?
I do.
No millage and just lower the rates.
That would be great, except for one problem. The number I saw was $38 million to build this ferry. In simple numbers, okay? As a business person, get 8%.
Yeah. So on
Hold your
December,
comments, please.
so on December 11th, again, the December 11th letter that I started reading, you can again read that on tonight and on Monday on the webpage. How do I know that it's fictitious? He says in the letter that they're trying to get Act 51 money. Well, we know that the state of Michigan has said they cannot get M51 money. Michigan Department of Transportation looked at the ferry problem last summer, and MDOT issued a report in June of 23, which we received that December 1st morning. We didn't tell MDOT these things, the Bryson family did. It's right here. HITA believes the Bryson family will fight this millage to the death. They have made us illusory offer. They made this illusory offer so the Bryson family can now campaign against the millage and tell you that we are unreasonable and just trying to raise your taxes. But their offer, if accepted, would avoid raising taxes. They're going to give you seniors 50% discount. That's a carrot, right? What happened to what they told MDOT? Blue Water will agree to anything HITA says. Without HITA, Blue Water is not going to do anything. That's the bottom line. So HITA didn't come here empty-handed. HITA here has a contract right now for Jake Bryson. He can sign right now. If you like, I'm going to read it. And again, it will be on the contract. Bottom line is HITA here guarantees at a starting wage that, well, I'll just read it for you because that way you guys can beat crap out of me. I still have like 3 minutes left. This contract is made between and entered into us as part of an effective date of December 16th, 2023, by and between the Blue Water Area Transit Commission as intended organized and existing under provision of Urban Act PA 1967. There's a lot of legal stuff here, so let's just get to the gist of it here. Now therefore, In consideration of the mutual covenants, agreements, and representations contained here within, Blue Water, HITA, and Champion agree as follows. HITA through Blue Water will acquire Act 51 money and distribute it to Champion. Champion shall operate the ferry service in its presence, form, and manner, and Jacob Bryson shall remain owner-operator, although payment of fees shall only be by debit and credit card, contract of filing, bypass scanning. HITA shall administer all financial responsibilities of the service, including accounting for all income and paying all expenses. HITA shall pay the owner-operator a salary of $200,000 annually and provide health care insurance for all the owner-operator and his family. The salary shall be adjusted every year to keep pace with the rate of inflation. HITA shall reduce the rate based on transportation trip of 330,000 tires by dividing Act 51 money and subtracting salary and benefits cost of owner operation signing this agreement. HITA shall reduce the rates to $5.75 per car if HITA receives the 1.6 Act 51 money, and reduce further if more than 1.6 million is received. Ferry rates shall be set by HITA as in its August meeting every year. Upon termination of this agreement for any reason, all property, real and personal, whether attached as a fixture or used as ferry replacement points, shall remain the property of HITA. In the event Champion's desire to transfer ownership, possession of control, or of any of all its assets, HITA shall have the right of first refusal to purchase Champion's ownership or real personal property. In the event HITA does not wish to execute the right of first refusal, HITA still has the authority to approve such sale and transfer. Signed by Blue Water, signed by HITA, and it's just lacking Jake's
So are you saying
signature.
that HITA's going to buy Champion out for the $38 million that you're proposing to spend? Is that what? I'm just trying to. You can keep reading, but I'm just trying to get a little bit shut up. And you're buying the ferry out for $38 million?
So I think my part's done here. You can guys open up the...
Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you would, come up to the front, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to respond.
Can I just say, if anybody is not getting emails, there's a questionnaire, give us your email, we'll add you to our list. We have a few that have bounced back, so we might have a typo on your email address. And yeah, if you can come up here with your question, I'm going to put some handouts over here, which are all on the website, mostly the FAQs, the history of what HITA has accomplished, and their basic business plan. So I'm going to put those up here.
Chair recognize me yet?
Yes, I do, Artie, go
Okay,
ahead.
Artie Bryson, Clay Township Supervisor. Where do I even begin? A few things.
Speak up.
A few things.
No.
I think 2 meetings ago, HITA announced that they were going to do this millage proposal. And right then I warned HITA, be careful, HITA as a board cannot say, vote yes. HITA can just say, we're going to ask for this money and this is what it's going to be spent for. Just like if the township was going for a millage, or the schools, or the library, or the ambulance, they can just say, what we're asking this much money is going to be spent for this. They can't tell you to vote yes. Basically, it's against the law to use public funds to campaign. I hear a lot of campaigning here. I just want to warn HITA. And I did it at your meeting, didn't I?
Let's show a little respect for the speaker. Come on. We're not on a street corner.
Number 2, in this letter that was written, you could probably substitute the Bryson family for Champion's Auto Ferry in every sentence. You're depicting the Bryson Ferry as Champions Auto Ferry. And I'm sorry, Champions Auto Ferry is its own entity. They referred back when I first got in the office, I tried to dissolve HITA. Not true. When I first got in the office, if you remember, I dove into the books big time, and I found some big problems in Clay Township. I found that Clay Township was in arrears to the IRS for $700,000. I found that there was embezzlement going on in Clay Township to a tune of $171,000. And I couldn't mention it, couldn't talk about it. It was under investigation. So I really dove into the books. And I see where HITA was supposed to give us audits and reporting and all kinds of stuff to the township, which we never received. The township for 10, 12 years never received. So I did get a legal opinion on the status of HITA because they haven't met in years. And do they have to give us, the township, this reporting? Because I asked for it and the HITA board back then denied it. And there's lots of, you know, I wanted to know the status. And there was like 8, 9 questions on this legal opinion. One was, if HITA can be dissolved or not? And it said that the state legislature had to do it, or themselves. Okay, fine. But they make it, that's the only reason I wanted to get that, is how I can get rid of HITA. Not true. We did try to make a deal with Blue Water. The St. Clair County Commissioner, Ray Top, then myself as the supervisor, talking to Dennis Wilson, the Blue Water Transportation Authority, about getting some subsidies and rate relief. Great idea. And we met several times. We agreed on a framework, basic framework. And at the time, Clay Township signed off on it, the Harsens Island Association signed off on it, Blue Water signed off on it, the county commissioners signed off on it. And then at the 11th hour, HITA sent a letter saying they agreed to the framework. But they won't show you, 2 days after they gave me that letter, they gave me a rejection of the framework, bullet by bullet, why they rejected each bullet of that framework. So ultimately, they can tell you whatever they want. HITA is the reason Blue Water withdrawal back in 2013. And I'll give you that sheet. I have before.
Wrap her up, Artie, you're way over 3
Okay,
minutes.
well, I want to fast forward. I'll make one more point. With all this, and I'm going to say nonsense going on, he said, she said, pardon the pun, is water under the bridge. Just recently, in fact, they brought it up. Recently, a board member of HITA reached out to me, sent me an email, hey Artie, think you could facilitate a meeting with the ferry and HITA? You know, that puts me in a heck of a position. Okay, well, let me try. And so I met with Jake, and he was willing to meet on certain conditions. Basically, he didn't want, you know, he couldn't meet with the whole board. He wanted to, he was going to leave my brother Dave home, and he wanted to meet with 2 of the board members. And so I sent an email to everybody and say, well, the ferry's willing to do this. And I suggested bringing in a third party to to help the process along, because, you know, with these kind of negotiations, it takes a process. And I know Mike Malik, sorry to throw you under the bus, but you volunteered. And I said maybe Mike Malik or Kevin Hertel's representative could attend this meeting to help facilitate the process, because I don't want it to be a setup for failure. And I suggested that we would work on a loose framework first, and then once that's agreed upon, bring in the rest of the HITA, bring in the rest of the ferry, and blue water transportation at that point to facilitate this deal. So I sent that back to HITA, and another board representative replied to me, said, no, you don't represent who represents HITA. It would be two other board members, one being Harold.
Okay, just a little clarification here, Artie. I'm going to cut you off because you're way over. I responded back to the emails to Artie. And
Yeah, it took an hour to slam one.
So,
excuse me,
wait, there's
you'll
certain
have your
rules here.
opportunity.
give me 35 more seconds. So, they replied to me that, you know, they'll say who represents HITA. I thought, okay, we're going to put my brother Dave and Harold Bain in a room to cut out a deal. You think that's going to work? No. So, and the goal is to cut a deal, right?
Yeah.
So they said, no, you don't dictate who represents HITA. Number two, there will not be a third party to facilitate the deal. So we're going to do it with no witnesses. And the third thing was, and all parties would have to sign a do not disclosure agreement. So, no witnesses, and we're not going to tell anybody what we talk about. So, I replied, and under those conditions, the township can't facilitate the meeting. Number one, it's against the law for the township.
1 minute. You said 35 seconds.
Okay. It's against the law for the township to go into a non-disclosure.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, be public information.
You look at our website, you'll see the letters that went back and forth.
Will you put my email on your website?
Give it to Maureen.
Okay.
Give it to Maureen.
Give us proof of what you say.
All right? You can read the letters. We have always simply requested rate oversight on the ferries as part of any deal. Mr. Bryson doesn't want to do that. So we should give him $1.6 million on a handshake and say, take care of us. That's their argument. We got a contract right here, right now, $5.75 round trip ferry crossing. We set rates, we give them money for employment. That's it. It's just, when you read things, you'll see that the Bryson family has not dealt, there's no fair dealing with them. It's just the way it is. Now, I don't blame him, it's his business.
You guys have had your time.
He should get to do what he wants to do.
Well, we have somebody else up there.
Well, he's a private owner.
That's right, he should be able to charge whatever he wants to charge.
It's just like.
We don't care.
It's just like Shepler's, right? $37 to water.
I want to, let's have this.
Nobody can hear you. I had a couple of questions and I ended up.
I don't know who you are.
Oh, I'm Mark Shrink.
Yeah, just come on up.
Been on the island for 45 years. So this just came up to me this last week. I watched one of the videos of one of the meetings, and what kind of threw me a little bit was people would ask questions, and then it was going to get, we'll answer that later, and it'll be on the website. So I thought, well, I'll go take a look. I looked at the website.
Got to turn the mic on, push the button.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
No.
I'm sorry for that.
I don't know if it's working.
Push the button here. So I just started looking at this last week.
We're waving the mic.
The mic's done.
And, okay, sorry about that. That's better, I get it now. Okay, so I just, saw a couple things on the website that caught my attention. And the one was on business, the 11-point business plan. I saw $38 million. And the first question, apparently this is being discussed now, is HITA buys out Champion Auto Ferry. So I thought, well, $38 million, is that what we're going to pay Dave for the ferry? Or that's what it's cost for a new ferry, right?
That'd be a new ferry.
New ferry system, yeah. So what came to me immediately there, I'm thinking, well, geez, who's gonna pay for this, right? So what I understand now is that the cost, I'm sure for the financing, is gonna probably come out of millage.
The
Yeah,
initial
that's
cost-
$3 million a year, okay? Right now, the Brysons are asking for $1.6 million.
Wait,
What's $3 million a year financing cost on $38 million? 8%. That's pretty reasonable rate.
Listen, you can,
It's not,
These are
$38
business-
million, $38 million. That's what's on your website.
I know, where do you pull up the financing costs?
We'll find
Have you
out.
talked to banks for
Anybody
it?
out here, what are you paying for a mortgage now? 7%.
80%'s gonna come from grants. So there's
Well,
not
but
financing, it's
again,
gonna be
the
financed.
state's not gonna look at this like, they're not gonna give us a bunch of money that's only for Harsens Island.
They just gave, they spent $5 million on a ferry for 60
You
people.
left it open for questions.
Right, so if we're gonna pay for that millage, that doesn't seem, I mean, that's gonna be a lot of money.
There's no guarantee.
I mean, $3 million, you don't just get $38 million and somebody's got to pay for it,
Exactly.
right? So
Money out there
that's
for a very
$3 million at 8%. And the way interest rates are going today, that could be 10% in 2 years. Okay, and inflation, when you think about the operating costs of what it takes to operate something nowadays, I go out to get a smash burger, a week ago, $20. $20.
Okay, let's wrap up, please.
The inflation is part of the reason for the German. I get it. Does anybody out here get upset about the fact that you go to the gas station and $6 a gallon for
Wrap up, please.
So, okay, well, that is part of the conversation because of the expense there. So I'm just throwing this out here. If you were to pay just the interest on $38 million,
You're not borrowing $38 million.
somebody's got, if it's 38, it's on the website, $38 million. Okay, is that, I mean,
The village is
Did we say
there.
we were borrowing
all right,
$38
well,
million?
okay, we'll skip that. There's a bunch of, I mean, if you start looking at how many round trips it would take a year, fares a year to pay that $3 million interest.
Okay, you're over your time, please. Pass the mic over to Mr. Price.
Already went over, so I well, here, I'll leave it here. Here's my question.
Set the
Anybody
timer.
else have any questions?
Yep.
I just want to make one statement.
Someone will reply to you on the website.
Hey, just so, we have on the board or a table up here where you just raise your hand, I'll walk around. But if anybody has a question, because I know we're probably, everybody wants to get the heck out of here, is that you can write this down, and if you've been seeing, you write anything that's written down and a question, we will answer it. It will be on the site. I give you my word on
You said
that.
all the questions were going to be on the site already.
I invited you to a couple different forums,
They are
but,
there. Put it on last week, right after you put
but
it on.
I'm going to yield my time here to Mr. Bryson, please, ladies, ladies.
In
business school, they teach you that every business has three main enemies. The first enemy is government, as Dennis in his wonderful filibuster has demonstrated to you. The second enemy is incompetence. So I would like to read this to you. It just came out last month. It's an article about the Washington State Ferries, which is the largest ferry system in the U.S., and it's owned and operated and run by the government. It has 21 road pax ferries, and
It says here, reliability is a problem. As of September 20th, 2,660 trips have been canceled this year. Problems termed vessel mechanical accounted for 567 or 21% of these canceled trips. Over the past decade, the ferry system has canceled thousands of trips due to mechanical problems. Again, this is a government-run ferry. The other big problems, crew shortages. This summer, hundreds of scheduled sailings were canceled, sometimes at the last minute because of insufficient Coast Guard certified crew. Routes that are normally served by 2 boats shuttling back and forth are often reduced to 1. Waiting cars have been backed up for miles as people sit in line for 2 or even 3 hours. Medical appointments are missed, family trips are disrupted, jobs aren't gotten to, and deliveries aren't made. Of the 2,660 canceled trips through September of this year, 1,390 were caused by missing crew. The second of the big things that they teach you in business school is don't put up with incompetence. Washington State Ferry is a perfect example of that. Now, the question is, do you want to put up with the ferry service that you got, which may or may not be perfect, or what Washington State and the government-run ferries are at?
Government.
Thanks, Dave.
My name is David Desir, and actually I'm a business school graduate, summa cum laude, University of Houston. I'm from Texas. I'm here part-time. I love the island. I love the people. I love the passion. But if I may, I have a couple of questions. I'm also an attorney, not licensed in Michigan yet, but I'll work on that. Questions are, the first thing I've seen here today is the contract. And what I understand, this proposed contract, and to me this looks like a public-private enterprise, a venture to where the ferry, Harsens Island, would take $1.6 million per year in government money, apply that, not borrowing $38 million or anything of the sort, is what I understand, applying that money to reduce ferry rates and to help support quality transportation to the island, which is what everyone wants. And so I just want to clarify, that's my question, is that what's being proposed here?
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that just briefly, that one point that we're talking about, public-private contract to help fund the ferry, reduce our rates? And if I may, I understand HITA is an appointed board appointed by elected officials, so indirectly, the elected officials appointing people to the board, we would have some control as citizens over the board that's ultimately appointed, if you could confirm that for us as well.
Who would have control? I'm sorry?
The people.
The people ultimately have the control.
We are an authority. We're appointed by the township board to handle anything under Public Act 196. Though that act will tell you what our authority is. We don't answer to the board, and we don't answer to the public unless they say, hey, I don't like what you're doing, or I love what you're doing. But they don't get to vote on us being here. The board appoints us.
Understood, so the board
And
is...
HIPSA.
The board appoints them too, though, ultimately.
Not HIPSA.
No,
Harsens
just
Island
a
St.
couple
Clair
don't.
All right. So the citizens would still have the board's ear in terms of what they like, what they don't like, improve services, retain quality, and how the money that is being...
The point is we're just putting it out for the public to vote. If you want to yes, want to know, it's up to the public on the millage. The contract says that we would try to negotiate, set a new ferry rate every August, depending on how much money is received.
So is the contract that I've just seen, just today, is that linked to the millage, or is that?
No,
you
there'd
can
be no
avoid the
millage. If that gets signed, there's no millage.
That was my understanding as well, so there's no millage. This to me appears to be a third option. I've heard bridge, I've heard buyout and other things, but this seems to make the most sense to me personally, because again, as I don't homestead my property here, I homestead my property in Texas, but it makes the most sense to me because it appears that we're getting funding, lowering costs, and engaging in this partnership where ultimately the board would have a say on rates and so on.
But Mr. Bryson has historically never wanted to relinquish any information about his income or expenses. And if you're going to go into partnership with somebody, you're just going to do a handshake and say, hey, take care of me? Or are you going to say, wait a minute, let's have full disclosure here, right?
Understood.
Well, and that's fine. If he doesn't want to, it's his right.
But my point is, my question was to confirm the nature of the contract. The contract makes perfect sense to me. It's probably the best option other than the status quo. And evidently, by the turnout, it looks like status quo is not satisfactory. Some love it, some don't. I'm somewhat indifferent, but I like the idea of the contract.
Why don't you discuss it with Mr. Bryson and ask him if he'd go along with it?
Hi, my name's Ed Bauer. I live on the Doty. It's off the Sinai. I truly don't understand why we're being charged, or why we would be charged this. We use Anchor Bay Drive. We're by the North Channel Yacht Club. I don't know if you all know where that is, but now you've drug us into this fight. We don't have a dog in this fight. This makes no sense. I clearly understand you guys and the Brysons have an argument, and that argument is now drug all the other out islands. There's 450 cottages on the out islands, and each one of them would have to pay this $450 per year. And then, hold on, just hold on, sir.
Yeah.
Now, I don't clearly understand why we would have to pay for it when we don't use any services here. Now, we do get police services, we do get fire services. The police boat and the fire boat and the airboats have all been out in the winter. I have an airboat. I live up here all the time. And I can guarantee you I see them. Now, my question is you say that we don't get services. We do. We don't get trash services anymore, but other than that, we get services. Now, why can you charge us something? Isn't this taxation without representation? Yes. Isn't this the same thing that America started for?
You're here right now, boys.
I don't think HITA says it's fair. I don't think HITA's saying it's fair. We didn't draw District Precinct 4. We didn't draw that. The Township Board drew it. Do I think that the out islands should have to pay a tax when they get no services? No. But we didn't put them there. Now, we understand the Township's going to pass a resolution taking you out of Precinct 4 on Monday.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's up to the Township.
So how many more mills will you need then?
Yeah, we're gonna do more mills.
Hey, listen. The millage states what it states. It doesn't matter. If you want to vote for it, vote for it. If you don't, vote against it. Sir, are there any more questions?
Randy Wildner, 2654 North Channel Drive. So, it's my understanding that it's $38 million to get the ferry started. That is not money that we are borrowing. Can you tell us how much money we have to borrow to get that?
So, in HITA's account, we have a private businessman that builds infrastructure. And he would come in as a partner to help us do that. And he would also help us with financing to do it. Now, some of it.
My question is, how much money does HITA have to borrow? I don't want an explanation of where we're getting it from. Are we borrowing 38 million, or are we borrowing 20 million? How much are we getting from the state, and how much are we getting individually?
Well, I can't answer those questions very honestly because we don't have the financing in place yet, so I can't tell you how much. We're just looking right now to get into the game. We may get, like Beaver Island got $10 million from the state and federal government. HITA, which charges $375 for seniors round trip, is a ferry system just like we're proposing, just like the one that the Bryson family is running. It's $5 round trip there. They do about the same amount of business as here. We can't sit down here today at this meeting and give detailed figures on it. I'm sorry.
I was asking for round numbers.
Well,
Okay.
you've got them. You've got them.
Don't ask for money then.
No.
So there is a comparison with Shepler's. This is completely a terrible analysis. Shepler's is only foot traffic. If they allowed foot traffic to be free, they'd have no income at all.
No, we're not Shepler's.
It's not Shepler's.
I'm saying the comparison was made earlier that
Well, whoever made it was
Champion does not charge for walk-on, but Shepler's charges $37. So,
No, we're more in line with the Upper Peninsula Transportation Authority. We have nothing to do with Shepler's. Is there anybody else who would like to?
You know, I just can't financially understand this whole thing. Because if you're gonna tax us to build a ferry system or something else, we don't need that. I'd rather pay $1 or $2 more to Bryson's ferry that's operating than start a new venture where we gotta hire people, give them all the benefits, operate 24 hours a day. I'm gonna tell you what, the guys that are gonna pay is every person that has a home on this island are gonna pay it in their taxes or somewhere. And I'm gonna tell you, on a piece of property that I have that's worth well over $1 million, I don't wanna pay $50,000 a year for ferry service. Okay?
Mike, I'll throw in a few bucks for you, Mike.
Well, I wish you would.
We'll pass the hat for
We need
you,
to work it
Mike.
out with the Brysons.
We'll pass the hat for you.
So my name's Kevin Garrity. I'm on North Channel Drive. You're asking for the millage to be passed to go to the feasibility study and apparently a purchase of property. My question is, and I've asked it and I've not gotten the answer, is can we get the scope of work for the feasibility study from the company, the contract you have with them? Because that's what you're asking us to pay for. There was a little FAQ that answered a few questions, like high level what they're going to do, but I'd like to see the scope of work. I'd like to see the contract you have with, I forget the name of the firm that's doing it. Today, just observing this meeting, it became very apparent to me, and I've been to many meetings, that there's a lot of contention between HITA and Champion. That goes without saying. And I don't think it's in our best interest that you're waging this war. I get the idea of safe, reliable, cost-effective transportation, but this is a war. Dennis, you read some historical facts, which was appreciated, but it was an editorial as well. And I don't think that's fair, and you're asking for our money now to support this initiative. Secondarily, if you get the millage, there's no guarantee you're going to get funding. There's no guarantee. All these other examples you use are of ferries that are existing, that get money, Beaver Island. This is for a new ferry service to compete with a private business. I just don't think the funding's going to be there. So we're going to pay all this money to kind of go down a path, and then it's going to be, just, if we by chance get there.
You're entitled
So
to your,
that's my feelings.
You're entitled to your opinion. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
No, he asked some good questions with scope of work. Let's start there.
Let's get some definite.
Why don't you come see us when we've got more time, and we'll go through everything for you, to your satisfaction.
So with them one-on-one, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I just want to say Harold Bain, the chairman, was really, really sick today, 102-degree fever. He felt like, you know, the people might think he was letting you down. So he's here in spirit. He didn't want to come and get everybody sick, but I did want to let you know. I just have a few things to say because nobody wants to pay taxes. I understand that. None of us do. And I get angry at the people who say, you chose to live on an island. You deserve what's happening to you. I see this on social media. I've heard this from politicians. It's simply not true. When I bought here in 2005, I had no idea the scheming that was going on to avoid regulations, inspections, and rate control. That's why this board has explained to you what's happened with Champion, because it was a lot of scheming. I paid $90 at that time for a book of tickets, so it's less than $5 a round trip. Like many seniors who want to spend their golden years here, I invested in my home with blood, sweat, and tears, only to find out that it's no longer safe and affordable. Did I expect the rates to increase some? Yes, but not at this rate, you know, over double in 10 years. Make no mistake about it, this board is the only thing standing between us and many more rate increases, which will force many of my income or less to have to sell the place we love and I worked so hard for. So with the letter that I have seen from Jake wanting Act 51 money to keep the rates where they're at, to me that says it all. If he doesn't get this money, our rates are going up. And it's right around if their efforts are squashed. People with multi-million-dollar properties, Mike, seem to be complaining loudest. I wish I had that problem, you know. I would, but safety. I mean, a lot of people don't know what has happened on this island. Talk to Patty Kernahan, who lost her husband because 23 times they called the ferry system before they answered to come help her husband who was having a heart attack. He might have passed anyway, but, you know, what's the price on safety, right? The price, people haven't talked about this, I would break even quickly, the common people, I mean, when they would reduce the rates, I'd break even quickly, but I just want the island to be enjoyed by many people and not just the wealthy and the privileged, you know. But as I stated before, I want to thank the board for their hours and hours of effort, okay? Thank you. I'm ready for a change. I want my children to inherit the place.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Make the motion to close?
Second?
Adjourn?
You know what? I'm glad everybody came. At least everybody got to hear what we had to say.
Please